Well, hey there, folks. I promised I'd make a review of the Orbx Grumman Avenger. I don't know if it's pronounced ORBX or Orbx. I'm gonna make a ruling on it, and we're just gonna call it Orbx. If I'm saying it wrong, you're welcome to correct me. So the Grumman Avenger. I bought this on the Orbx store. They had it for sale on their website and in their app before it came to the flight simulator store or marketplace. It should be the same price in both places, which is $18.50. That is US dollars. So what does $20 get you? Well, first of all, there's one variant. You don't get a choice in what other type you can get. It's one variant. That's it. The same for your paint jobs. Even though the picture down there has a more of a silver with a blue streak, you get blue. That's it. That's what you get. Everything else is kind of the same. Something to note here, it shows a max altitude of 45,000 feet and a range of 5,600 miles. Those are a little bit wrong. Originally it was, I believe, 30,000 feet and like a range of 800 nautical miles, give or take, or 850-ish. So that's not really right, but it's a plane. Let's go ahead and find ourselves a runway. Well, it did spend a lot of time in the Pacific, so we are gonna go ahead and fly out of Nagasaki. I will start us on a runway. Now, I've had the chance to fly it once before this, so we're all just gonna learn as we go. And as a reminder, if you're testing the sound quality of anything, I record the game at 30% less volume, because sometimes the game gets really loud, especially when the engines are whining, and I'll start basically yelling over it. So I'm trying to prevent that by at least recording with a lower volume. But it sounds lower for you. It still sounds really loud in my earphones. Anyways, that said, since we started on the runway, let's go ahead and shut the engine down for a second and check out the model itself. Now, as I've said before, I love anything that's World War II era and earlier and slightly later. Basically anything from, 1930 to 1970, early 80s that I fuck with. I like the model a lot. I think it's really nice and detailed. Now, I will tell you up front that the wings do fold in. We'll take a look at that in a minute once we get back in the cockpit. This compartment down here is where you put your unruly children. Keep that in mind if you ever need to take them somewhere. Tail hook, it does extend and retract. Well, it's retracted now, but it does extend as well. And that is about the exterior. I think it's a very pretty model. It's a shame that you only get one color. But it is still pretty. So let's take a look at the insides. And while we do that, let's start the engine up first. And we are gonna turn on all of the lights as well. There we go. Now, we're gonna take a quick look around the cockpit first. And one of the things that you probably already saw is that GPS unit. We'll come back to that one. First and foremost, you can open your canopy if you so desire, but it looks like it's going to rain. Oh no, it's already raining. So let's go ahead and close that one. Generally speaking, most of the buttons here work. The tail wheel lock works. The tail hook, I'll show you real quick. You can see earlier it was up, right now it's down. Let's go ahead and put that back up. The trim works. You can supercharge it if you want. Have fun with that. Everything looks kind of as expected. As far as the wings go, it is a pretty simple mechanism, right? The wings are out right now. You have your wing fold lock, and your wings are spread. So even if you switch it to fold, it's not going to do anything because the lock is on. We remove the lock, and they will start folding in. Now this is also, if you start from a parking spot, going to be your default starting point. Is going to be with the wings folded in. We're going to have to fold those back out. A funny little detail is, watch that wing as I press the lock. You can lock them in any position you want. So if you want to try to take off like that, like, have fun with it. When the wings are extended and you fold them back in, they will also retract the flaps by themselves, which is helpful. I will say the sound for all of it sounds pretty good. There you can see the flaps extending. Now, as far as the interior goes, I'm not going to go over every... We're going to go ahead and lock these over every single button. You can open your torpedo bay. I'll show you on the outside real quick. As you can see, the torpedo bay is open. Isn't that something? Alright. Like I said, I'm not going to go over every single dial and every single button. Most of them, if you've been in Flight Simulator, are self-explanatory. Like, you understand how to turn the lights on, you understand how to turn the engine on, what the flaps do, what the parking brake does, how landing gears work. Yeah, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. However, one thing you might have noticed, well, I'm not recording my mouse, so you don't see me hovering over it, but let me go ahead and zoom in on it, is this little thing right here. As far as I know, none of these were ever outfitted with GPS units. This does make me wonder. I'm going to give it a try in the EFB. No, I didn't pop out my EFB onto my second screen, so you get to enjoy this with me. Because it does say it has a nav source. Let's go ahead and pick... There you go. Add as a rifle. Really? It didn't save my departure where I'm literally at? Goodness gracious. Add to flight plan as a departure. I think we said 10,000 feet-ish. We're not going to try to take this thing up to 45. That's not really doing anything. Departure's good, except it's the other way around. That's all good. Yeah, I'm not seeing it appear on the GPS thingy there. We'll play around with that in a little bit and see if the autopilot does work for it, just for giggles. All right, that said, that is the only thing that isn't really accurate. So if you're heavily into like, oh, it has to be period accurate, you don't have different variants, you don't have different paint jobs, you don't have a period accurate cockpit. Period. That's just the way it is. So if you're looking for that, I would say don't. Let's go ahead and see if we can get this thing in the air. The first time I took off with it, it had a real heavy lean, which to the left to try to get itself off the runway, and it really does. Just retracting the landing gear, and flaps up. It goes fast. Now here comes the funny part. I'm gonna align this as close as I can, at least to the track. Ooh. Let's see if it does. Oh boy, wrong camera. I don't think it's going to, but...
NIPS 1-1, IT _ in Papa, Charlie Golf, 89er. Acknowledge last transmission.
Oh, sure. There you go. Like I said, I don't have my 94. Let me just set a heading and just see if that does work. Turn off the nav and see which direction it goes. This is more for my own entertainment than anything else, just because if you're going to add that unit in there, I'm going to try to make it work, see what it does. I will say, when it comes to the steering portion, it feels very jerky. If you compare it to, say, like the P-51 is one of the World War II airplanes that you have here. The P-51 does not feel as aggressive. Is it actually going to follow the heading? Well, there's something. It can follow the heading, so if you like to fly on autopilot, then this works. We can get off of the engine so aggressively, because it is. There we go, and it is still gaining altitude. Alright, while it attempts to fly itself, I can tell you that at least the autopilot works. For anyone curious about how I am using it, I have a Stream Deck, which I don't use for streaming. On your Stream Deck, you can program pretty much any key to do what you want it to do. So it makes it a lot easier to have the sequence, for example, for starting up an airplane programmed one button after the other without having to constantly look for, goodness gracious, where is that button? I have one panel that has my autopilot controls, and it basically goes in order of, wow, it is really trying to climb. It is gonna fall is what it's gonna do, because I can see it starting to stall out. That was certainly a choice it made. As I was saying, I have a little panel for autopilot, and it includes controls for altitude, heading, nav, the good stuff. We'll go ahead and get off the throttle and go closer to the ground again. I'll try not to go over speed, but no promises. But like I was saying, this plane does fly a little bit more jerky, like the controls are not smooth at all. Now granted, I have never flown a Grumman Avenger in real life. Let me pull the GPS out so I don't have to stare at it. So I don't know how it compares, and comparing it to the P-51 that's in here might be a little unfair on account of, well, it's a P-51 and not a lumbering giant Hulk like this thing is. But even so, we are tilting way to the right. There we go. Even so, the controls are very much not smooth. And it can be a little bit... I see the ground. Well, let's see if the ground sees us. There it is. You can see it right through the clouds. We're gonna... try not to crash here. Of course I picked the rainy day to fly here. We're also only flying a very short distance. But yeah, comparative to a lot of the other planes that I have and that I tend to fly, this thing feels like the slightest movement that you make gets like a jerk reaction. Like this is barely any movement on the stick. I'm trying to be as gentle as possible with it. But see, even a little bit and it... yeah. It feels a little uncomfortable, is the best way I can describe it. Like you're afraid to even touch the stick because it'll just fly any which direction. And I could probably create a profile that makes it less sensitive for this particular plane. That's certainly an option. But besides that, the fact that it has a GPS and a somewhat functional autopilot, the throttle too, I'm trying to be very gentle as I set the throttle to at least keep us in the air and also not go an insane amount over speed. It is very uncomfortable. You can watch the RPMs in the bottom left anytime I try to make a micro adjustment. Keep in mind that this is with the supercharger off. I would expect that behavior if the supercharger was on, that it would be a little bit jerkier. Overall, it's not bad though, and that is pretty much my only complaint about the whole thing too. I like it. I don't really care for the GPS. They could have stripped that out and it would be totally fine. But it is fun. And if you're into World War II era planes, this is a nice one to add to your collection. Now, is it worth $18.50? Oh, that is a hard question, isn't it? I don't think so. It's not period accurate enough to say that it's a high value item. And the flight model is too arcadey for it to also be worth that much money. So I'm gonna give it a no. I mean, they already got my money. But if you were on the fence about it, I would probably say no. I would probably say keep your money in your pocket. It is fun to try to be as gentle as possible with it, though. But you see that up and down movement, that is just a minor, like a minor correction on the flight stick. And it reacts way aggressively. Yeah, I'll keep this one short. If you want my final verdict, if it's on sale for $5 or $10, you might find it worth it if you're into it. But otherwise, there are probably better options out there right now. Now, I will say, over the next couple of days and weeks, I'll probably start going through my collection of airplanes, because I have a lot of airplanes in my collection. Some that I fly, some that I don't fly. And I should really, especially the ones that I spent money on, give people a heads up of what is worth it, what is not worth it. My number one standout that I will always recommend to any and all of you is the C160R Transall from Azure Poly. That thing is fantastic. Now, and as a last note, I did buy the, I don't know if anyone has seen this, also from Orbx. They created a Jurassic World, or Jurassic Park, world part of the map. I think if you just buy the map itself and not the plane and extras, it is $30. That one is on my list to do a review of. Well, I don't crash. That one is on my list to do a review of because I'm a massive Jurassic Park fan. So I'm very excited to try it out. I just haven't found the time to do so yet. So I think I'm going to give up on this one for now. And instead I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Jurassic Park and fly over that place and start doing a review of that one. But that concludes this one. So again, if you were on the fence, probably not. Wait till it goes on sale. Alright. Well, have a good night, y'all.